EastEnders fans, and welcome to another episode of Albert Square After Dark, your weekly EastEnders podcast. This week, discussing the episodes broadcast between the 11th and the 14th of December 2023. Guess what? Today, as we record this, is the 15th, which means we have a mere 10 days to go until we find out who is on the bloody floor of the Vic. It's so close, I can taste it. Hello, my name's Rob. And this lovely lady is Ree. Hello, Ree. How are you this week?
I'm all right, Rob. How are you? We're both a bit sleep deprived today, aren't we?
When are we not? It feels like we're always opening them with we're tired. All right, we're tired.
It's end of week as well, though. Which
I know,
help, does it?
No, I was at work last night, so I went swimming and then came here. And Ree's daughter decided that because it's podcast day, that means that she had to be up all night. So that was standard.
Every week,
every week, isn't it? It's like she knows.
Yep.
It's like she knows. I told you, your daughter's evil. I've told you this before. She knows these things.
No comment.
Where'd she get that from, I wonder? I did it. I know that. I know. Little mini me. So, I mean, this week was a very, very exciting week of EastEnders, wasn't it? We had, unbeknownst to us, we were given a special episode, technically, of 4 of the 6, and we should be getting the other 2 next week, because the EastEnders Twitter team was putting, like, watch Kathy's episode now, watch Stacey's episode now, watch Sharon's episode now. So what we got, normally we'll have, like, a couple of mini stories, but this week, I think what we got was effectively 4 A stories, which were all as important as each other, because the 6 are starting to orbit around one another now, and it's very, very exciting. So we have, as a result, much to discuss. Don't we? And
we also had the 6 special.
And the 6 special.
Don't forget that, Rob.
I won't forget that, Ree. And also, don't forget this, Ree. They also, on BBC Sounds, released a sort of episode of each woman. I don't know if you saw this. If you haven't heard this, go on to BBC Sounds and listen. It's quite a nice little monologue from each woman, and then they're making playlists. Oh. So you get like each character's sort of music choices on each episode. It's quite good. So that's on BBC Sounds, and it sort of gives an internal monologue as to where the characters are at this particular moment. So there's so much going on at the moment. It almost feels like an anniversary storyline in itself, because they're throwing this much promo at it. It kind of makes you wonder where we're going to be for the 40th. What are they going to do for that? It's very exciting. Right, let's crack on, because we have a lot to talk about in this week's Albert Square After Dark. So let's begin this week. We're talking about Kathy and Rocky. It was one of those weeks where you actually kind of forget what happened at the start of the week because so much happened. But this week, Kathy found out about Rocky, and it feels like it happened ages ago because it was one of those great weeks. But Nish is basically continuing to harass Rocky into getting Kathy to buy the calf off him. Yeah, it's all very confusing, Kathy and all that kind of thing, but it's fine. Kathy at first is kind of refusing point blank because this building and this business has been in her family for, it feels like generations. I mean, 30 years on it is basically generations in soap terms, isn't it? But eventually she kind of realizes that there's no other option. So Nish comes around all very smug. And basically manages to buy the building off Kath. Now, his plan is to turn this into a block of flats, because of course it is. He's got no interest in sort of keeping the prosperity of the place, keeping any sort of memory alive of what happened there. All very niche, just thinking of businesses, thinking of how much money he can get out of the situation. And Kathy is understandably quite gutted about this.
Well, Kathy did rush into it a bit, didn't she, signing it over? Like, that would have been one of if it were that important to her that it continued as a cafe or as some kind of community building, that'd be one of the first things you'd be asking is, what are you planning on doing with it?
Oh, right. And then if that's your answer, then I'm not selling it to you. Simple as that. Yeah.
You'd think, wouldn't you? But it all happened very quickly. And I always love how they get all paperwork signed, right? And his solicitors like witnessing anything anyway. And,
yeah, I know.
Counter-signing it. But,
the trust in that square is just so... everyone trusts each other. That's the problem. That's how half of these storylines happen, because there's just too much trust in Albert Square. Who knew?
I mean, have you not heard of a shredder, Kathy? Just
exactly.
shred him.
Well,
set him on fire.
by the end of the week, she wants to put both Nish and Rocky into a shredder, because Nish cannot help himself but kind of throw a little comment out saying, "Oh well, I hope this isn't just an insurance scam. You know what Rocky's like. Oh." He knows exactly what he's doing. He's having his cake and eating it. He's managing to get what he wants, the business and the building, and also managing to drop Rocky in it at the same time. I mean, do you think that was his intention with that comment? Like, he was just kind of
Yeah, of
like,
course
yeah,
it
of course it
were.
was. Yeah, of course it was.
He
Because he was
were.
kind of
It
like, what are you going
was.
to do?
He didn't say it directly, did he? He just planted the seed, but pretty
Exactly.
much did. Well, pretty much said it directly. Yeah, very
Yeah,
on brand for Nish. I thought it were a
very on
great move
brand.
for him.
Yeah, it really was. Nish was just. The thing is with Nish, like, obviously we know all the stuff that goes on with Suki, and he's like deplorable
Yeah,
as a human being. But then there
yeah,
are other
yeah,
moments like this where where he's one of these characters that sort of moves the story along because he's that sort of person. So it's
yeah,
kind of like, oh yeah, fine, thanks, Nish. That's given us a lot. That gives us the
yeah.
drama. It's kind of makes me think it's a shame that he's going to die on Christmas Day. I'm telling you,
He's made a lot of enemies, hasn't he?
well, he
Let's be
does make a lot.
honest.
Nish does make a lot of enemies this week, doesn't he? Like, he's
Mm,
got stuff with Suki. Ravi, I'm not putting it beyond him to kind of finish Nish off.
yeah,
He also wound up Keanu this week. He also wound up
yeah, and
Bernie.
Bernie. Yeah.
Everybody has got an opinion on Nish, so it just feels like the sharks are starting to circle for Nish. I'm telling you,
Mm-hmm.
he is top of my suspect list. But yeah, so this comment from Nish sort of plants the seeds in Kathy's head, and those seeds turn into a beanstalk because then she starts to put two and two together. She goes over to Harvey because she's sensing that Rocky and Harvey have had a bit of a falling out, and basically says, "Look, did Rocky set fire to the calf? Did he do this?" And Harvey, bless him. Bless him, he cannot tell a lie because he sort of just looked down at the floor immediately, like, yes, he did. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I did. I should have told you. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Did he say yeah? I thought he didn't say anything. I
Well,
thought
he
he
didn't
just
really say
looked at her
anything,
and
but
she was like,
yeah, well,
right, yeah, he
that's
did then.
effectively the
Oh,
same. He
okay,
may as
got
well
you.
have said yes by how
Oh,
obvious he
right.
made it. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, he was kind of just
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
no, of course he didn't. No, oh, he did then, right? Okay. So Kathy's reaction to that is to storm back home and start throwing plates around, which can't really blame
Mm.
her. A lot of plates got
Angry
broken.
Cathy, angry
Angry
Cathy.
Kathy. Do you think there's any chance of Kathy being the killer?
Oh, well, I don't know if we're going to be discussing this separately, but after
We'll come
watching.
to the sixth thing later. We will before we finish the episode. But just initially from this week's
Oh,
events,
right. From watching,
yeah,
no. From watching it, no. From watching from watching the soap this week, no.
I
I
have to.
don't. It'd be quite. I don't know. It'd have to be circumstantial with all six rooms. I can't see
Mm,
any of them being actual killers.
apart from
Like with
Suki,
the
who I can,
intent. Yeah, to be fair, out of them all.
yeah,
Yeah, but no,
but
Kathy out of them all would be the biggest shock. I think.
yeah. I mean, the thing is, I also feel that because by the end of the week, by the end of this section of the week, Kathy has kicked Rocky out. Their marriage is over effectively. She has no interest in speaking to him again. She's devastated, but they're done as far as she's concerned. And that sort of makes me think, well, Rocky's had his punishment then, hasn't he? Like, he's
I
not
don't know. He's still on the
what else
square.
could he do?
No, you've got. I don't know. We said it. We said this about a lot of things, Robin, and then someone does
I
something else
know, I know, I
spectacular.
know, I know. But it's
I
sort of
mean,
just
maybe he's gonna rob the little money that she has still got because they're married or something. I don't know.
maybe, and he kind of has to make a getaway. Maybe the police will,
Yeah,
because
or rob Ian or something. He's gonna
well,
cross paths with Ian and
I do
something like
wonder about
that.
Ian because Ian was very much up for Kathy ringing the police and getting Rocky sent straight to jail. And Kathy's sort of like, no, do you know what? He's not a bad person. He's a cat. And she's right, to be fair, as well. He's not a villain, is Rocky. He's just an idiot, and he is a coward and he is sort of somebody who likes to sort of run away from his problems and try and find an easy way to deal with his problems, hence the gambling. So,
Addict,
so yeah,
addict.
of course, classic addict behavior. So you sort of wonder whether Ian might just turn around and say, "Oh, actually, I'll ring the police then." And so maybe Rocky has to make a quick getaway, and then, like you say, tries to like steal the rest of Kathy's money or something like that, and that might lead
True.
into something like that. That's the
Wouldn't
only
you
way I can see it
think?
happening.
The only thing I'd say though is that would Kathy not potentially be at risk if they rang police? Because surely they'd launch an investigation and wonder if she was part of it.
I mean, they would normally, but this is Walford Police.
Oh,
So
okay, yeah. Sorry, I
yeah,
forgot about that. No, they
so
just
who
go, oh, you said it were him. All right, well, let's go and arrest him and
yeah, that'll do. That's enough
yeah,
evidence for us. Yeah, thanks very
yeah,
much.
your word. Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, Kathy obviously devastated. Rocky spends the night on Sonia's sofa, and couldn't be made to feel less welcome, really, because Sonia has no interest in sharing her breakfast table with a filthy arsonist, as she gets Reese to try and explain to him very unsuccessfully. Reese
Mm.
Reese made me laugh a lot this week. I know Reese has his haters, but I can't. He made me laugh again a lot this week. I love him. I love him. I love him. I don't care. I love him. I love him. I love him. So I think all in all, Kathy and Rocky seem to be done for now. Obviously, there will be other things that are kicking off because Rocky's still around, but I don't think Rocky's on the
I
floor.
think I don't think Rocky's on the floor, and I think if let's say Kathy was the killer, she'd be more likely to kill Nish than Rocky.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, she even said when Ian suggested ringing police, she said, "I don't want him to die in jail." So she clearly don't want him to die. Full
no,
stop. She's not hating
exactly.
him that much, which obviously most people wouldn't want someone to die.
Do you?
But Nish she hates more, I reckon.
Yeah, absolutely.
She
Do
sees the
you?
part he's played in it.
Yeah. Do you think we might get another appearance from Joe anytime soon?
Oh,
Would she have any reason to come back? Because when we last saw Joe, she was talking about like Elvis Moore, where that came from,
oh yeah, and she were on the
implying that she had
phone,
more.
weren't she?
Yeah. Like who was she on the phone to, for example? We still don't really know about that. So I wonder if there's other stuff to come with Joe before Rocky leaves. I don't know. What do you
That is a
reckon?
good point. They should tie that
Again,
up, really. That'd be tying up a loose end, really, actually.
it
Yeah,
would, but then does that loose end kind of save Rocky from the floor because we've still got that to come?
possibly. Yeah, possibly. Oh, I don't
Unless
know. I've not
what
thought about Joe for ages, even though
exactly,
she
and
is the
like
reason for all of this.
exactly, yeah, well, yeah. So it's yeah, she is basically the catalyst for all of this, isn't she?
Mm,
So you've got to sort of wonder maybe there is more stuff to come with Joe, and is she going to be the one that sort of is the main reason why Rocky has to leave? But I feel like
could
not
be.
via the big floor. I'm not convinced.
Nah, I
Let us
don't
know in
think
the
it is.
No, let us know in the comment section what you're thinking about Rocky's ultimate fate. Do you think Kathy might be a killer? Let us know in the comment section below. Right, ladies and gentlemen, next story. Right, so we've had a new arrival on the square. Jade has arrived, Dean's daughter. Hasn't she grown? As we do, we always have to do this with kids. Hasn't she grown since we last saw her?
Hadn't
Because
she?
kids grow,
Hadn't
hasn't she?
she?
Hasn't she just? She has arrived to kind of visit Dean, kind of against what she wants to do, clearly, because I don't think she really knows Dean, because all she really knows about her dad was that he was accused of something horrible. She doesn't know what, and that is the reason why he hasn't been in her life. And obviously, because she has cystic fibrosis, I feel like there is an element of resentment there, that you weren't there whilst I kind of needed you in my life, whilst I am still going through this. And the thing with Jade is that we get a story from Dean saying that these miracle drugs that were supposed to help her haven't helped Jade, and she actually now needs a lung transplant. So it's all very serious for Jade. And this is a girl that you can sort of tell life is having an effect on. She's got a bit of an attitude about her, which you can't really blame, to be honest. I feel like she's dealing with it quite well for her age, to be honest with you. Don't you think?
Well, yeah, you would be a cynic, wouldn't you? Well,
I
did they
think
say that
so.
she's 14
About
and she's
14, I
like
think. Yeah,
looking death
14.
in the face?
Yeah,
Like,
that's terrifying.
ouch.
It was terrifying at any age, but
Yeah.
to be doing it at 14, that's a lot.
Mm.
I feel for Jade. I really, really do.
She's a good little character, though, isn't she?
She
I
is.
like her attitude and everything
Yeah.
about her, actually, that we've seen.
Which again, does this sort of mean that there's more story potential for Dean on the square past Christmas Day?
This is true because otherwise, why have they just brought her back? Well, actually, there is a
Well, we
slight
know,
reason
yeah,
why they've
there's
brought her back
yeah,
for this week, anyway, as
she
a
is
plot
sort of
device.
she is very much a sort of catalyst for events that kick off later on in the week, isn't she?
Mm.
It's twice I've used the word catalyst in one episode. Don't normally do that. So she arrives. Dean is delighted to see her and is trying to make an effort. Like you've got to sort of separate it, haven't you, in a sort of way? Like you're sort of looking at him and going that he is trying to make an effort for his daughter, and this is not unnoticed by Gina. Now we need to have a
Mm-hmm.
conversation about young Gina because she's gone on a hell of a journey from spraying the word rapist on his shop to all of a sudden believing him and
Oh
sort of
yeah,
going against Linda's word,
forgot
don't you
that she
think?
sprayed it.
Exactly. So that's quite a journey that Gina goes on, isn't it?
All I can say is she is not my star of the week this week. I
No.
am outraged. Well, I'm not outraged. It,
See,
so a part of me thinks it's in character for her, and a part of me thinks it's really out of character.
and
It's a
see,
really difficult one.
part of me is wondering whether she is pretending.
Oh, really? Why though?
I don't know, but it just seems like that much of a leap from spraying rapist on his shop to all of a sudden sort of clearly starting to believe him. It seems like a bit of a
No,
wide
because if she
step.
had, surely she won't. Because like Linda's noticed that she seems to be, doubting her. So surely she won't make Linda doubt her and put that on
Yeah.
Linda if she. I don't think she. No, I don't think she's pretending. I think she has this thing, doesn't she, with men who are in need, not in need. You know what I
I
mean?
know what you
Like
mean, like yeah, with the
the
history that she's had with
savior with men.
boyfriends. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So
That
yeah,
seems to be a thing, doesn't it?
so
Which is what I
yeah,
thought it
actually,
was
yeah,
turning
I'd forgotten
into.
about that. I had forgotten about that.
Yeah.
So actually, there is an element of this that's very in character for Gina. Then, to be
That's
fair,
what I'm
isn't there?
saying.
Yeah,
That's what I
all
mean.
right.
Some of it is and some of it isn't, because
Yeah,
also how strongly she was about it at the start and saying, I just always believe the woman. Like, obviously, we've heard the recording, but
yeah.
why is she so touched by Jade that she'd believe Dean? I don't
Well,
quite get that.
I think there's elements, but like obviously, the thing is with Gina, I think she's actually quite a very reactionary type of person. Like
Mm,
she reacts immediately to what's in front of her, no matter kind of what has led what is in front of her to be there. You know what I mean? So
mm.
I mean, her and Jade have some nice conversations this week, and I think there's elements of Jade's life that she can sort of see in herself. You know, with the absent parent. You know, so there is that. So she kind of feels an
Bit
affinity
different
towards
though.
Jade. It is very different, but I feel like Gina sort of feels an affinity towards Jade in that respect because of that.
I mean, I get that, but she's known Jade for 2 minutes and
Yeah,
known Linda all this time, and I just think,
yeah.
how is it that you take it? I don't know, something's not quite.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I agree with you. Like most, like 80% of me kind of thinks, "What the hell, Gina?" And then there's that other 20% that sort of understands her thinking, but it's at the same time, it's sort of just it's a bit mad. So basically, with what we're kind of skirting around is the big issue and the big part of this storyline this week. So there is a Santa's Grotto at the pie and mash shop because where else would you stick a Santa's Grotto other than a pie and mash shop?
No other Santa's grotto on Albert Square this
To be
week,
fair, to
but
be
at the pie and
fair,
mash shop. Go
Anna
on.
tried to go around London. We know that
She
Anna did
did,
try. Anna left the square. We know she left the square, and there was just no Santa's grottos
and there was
available.
no Santa over there. Yeah, okay. Anyway, they might all be booked up in London. You never know.
Maybe. I imagine it's
You
busy
have
this
to
time of
book
year in
these days. You
London.
have to
You
book in
do.
advance these
You
days for
do.
Santas. Let me
You're
tell
easy.
you, we're
You're
going
easy
next
bloody
week.
do. Are you? Oh, that must be
Yeah,
exciting. Are you going for you or for your daughter?
for a
You.
miracle.
For you. But a little bit for you.
No,
You're not
really,
are
I'm
you're not
I'm
gonna
not
sit
a Father Christmas magic Christmas
you're
kind
not
of
gonna sit
gal.
on Santa's knee and ask for a few nights where Amira doesn't where your daughter doesn't wake up.
Oh well, if you can do that, yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
see,
get you
Santa
tickets.
can, oh, come on,
Yeah,
Santa can fly around the world in an entire night. He can make a kid sleep for a night or two. Of course he can. Of course
for
he can.
Christmas Eve it'd be even better.
There you
Oh
go.
yeah, I'm going to ask you
See,
for that now.
there you
Thank
go.
you.
There
Yeah,
you
that's
go.
my Christmas wish. Anyway, we
So
digress.
yeah, we digress.
We do
So
that a lot.
we do that a lot. We are at the Santa's Grosso in the Pie and Mash shop.
Yes.
Bobby is dressed as Father Christmas. I have to say, it quite suits him. I liked Bobby as Father
Yes.
Christmas. Yeah, it was quite
His
sweet.
voice was questionable, but
It
I
was very
understand what
deep.
he were going
I have to
for.
say, it was deeper than I thought Bobby was capable of. That voice.
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, is that still Bobby playing that? Um, so kind of Anna goes into the pie and mash shop because Ollie has seen that there's a Santa's grotto there, and Ollie's really excited to meet Santa. So he runs into the pie and mash shop. Anna obviously knows the situation and sort of like, Ollie, no, can we not go in there, please? But she's sort of she sees that. I think Cindy tells her that it's Bobby who's being Santa, so she's like,
Yeah.
right, okay, well that should be fine then. Obviously, Bobby's on a break, so Dean has taken over and is being Santa, and he gets Jay to take a photo of him and Ollie together, and then he sends that to Linda because he's an arsehole, kind of mocking her and taunting her, saying that Ollie's loved spending time with his uncle Dean. So Linda, as a result of that, storms into the pie and mash shop and has a massive go at him in front of Jade. And Jade then starts to put two and two together about what he is actually being accused of and tells Dean that she doesn't really want anything to do with him, which then prompts Dean to go into the Vic in front of the entire square because the choir night's going on at the time Just briefly talk about the choir. Uh,
Yeah.
People, the usual suspects you'd suspect of being in there, like Honey and Patrick, and all the people, and then Priya and Avani.
Well, I thought this, and I'm like, why is Priya and Avani there? I thought free
Because,
drinks, isn't it?
well,
After.
free drinks as well, but I also feel like Priya is kind of keeping an eye on kind of integrating herself into the community for her own, for all,
Oh, maybe.
just for
I just thought.
uses.
I thought she's thinking it was one free drink for me. Avani's too young, so I get hers. So I
So I
get
get
two
hers,
free
yeah.
drinks at the end of it.
Yeah,
That's what
also
I
that.
thought.
Also that. She is an
Can see that I
entrepreneurial
overthought
queen.
that.
Yeah, no, she's an entrepreneurial queen. Love Priya.
Mm.
We'll come back to Priya in a bit.
We
Um,
shall.
but he goes into the pub where all of this is going on and plays the recording that we knew he has had for a little while. And you were sort of waiting for, when is this recording going to get played? It's going to get played at the worst possible moment, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And I think this counts as a really bad moment when the entire square is in the pub. Now, what did you think of the reaction to people in the pub to this recording? What were you expecting when you played the recording?
I was expecting everyone to go, "Oh, Linda's been lying," but I was
Yeah, so
really
was
glad
I.
that they didn't do that. So that's really like. I think Elaine spoke up, didn't she, straight away and were like, well, he made her say it. And then when
Yeah,
people heard that, they were like, all right, well, sod off, Dean, we know. And
yeah,
everyone was saying Linda wouldn't lie, which is again why it was so out of character for Gina to be the only one who
yeah.
started doubting it.
Out of everybody, why is
Mm,
Gina, who's, like we say, the most reactionary person there? Maybe it was literally just Jade that's kind of appealed to that side of her. I don't know. There's, like you say, I'm 80-20 on it. Like, obviously, I'm 100% annoyed that she's doing it, but I'm kind of with the understanding of why she's doing it. It's sort of, yeah, it's frustrating. But yeah, I'm with you. I was expecting at least half of the characters there to be like, oh, you're a liar then, are you,
mm,
Linda? Oh, okay. But actually, what we got was George saying some really helpful things, like she's only said it to get me out of being arrested. All of these useful bits of tidbits that usually get left out of those sort of reveal scenes. When something is like something has
yeah,
happened for a reason, someone there should be saying this, and they never ever do. So these
but
lines were
they
being,
did.
but they did.
Yeah,
So it was sort of like,
yeah.
okay, so it feels like most of the square still believe Linda, which was kind of surprising because I thought that this was then going to lead into, because we kind of had a feeling that Linda's sort of been eyeing up the alcohol and you can tell she's getting stressed and she's going to Linda at any moment. So I kind of thought that the whole square turning against her was going to be the reason why she then got
The
back on the drink.
catalyst.
Yeah, the catalyst. Well done. Yes. So, but that's not how it played out. So I was quite pleased
No.
with that. I thought that whole thing played out quite realistically. I thought I was pleased with it.
They're kind of redeeming themselves on the fact that it happened in the first place by doing that, I think.
Yeah,
Because if people had started disbelieving her after
that would have been
believing her for all
ridiculous.
these
That
years,
would have been ridiculous.
we as an
Absolutely.
audience would have been pretty mad.
Well, it would have been
So I'm
ridiculous
glad.
because, yeah, I mean, it's a pretty damning statement that Dean's got there. So it would
Mm-hmm.
have been in terms of the story, in terms of the plot driven aspect of it, it would have been a kind of understandable route to take it because she's got such a damning piece of evidence there saying that she lied. But I'm really pleased that they sort of subverted that and went down a slightly different path with it. So yeah, well done there, I say. But as we say, this then pushes Linda on to the booze. We have drunk Linda back again. Now, Kelly Bright plays drunk like nobody else. Honestly, she is an
She's
amazing drunk.
great. She is
She's
really
so
good
good
at
when
it.
she's drunk. She's
Mm-hmm.
so good when
Really
she's
good.
drunk. Now then, drunk Linda is
Now
back.
then, sorry, can I have a little smug moment, Rob?
Go
What were I
on,
saying?
yes,
What have I been
yes.
saying?
You
Linda's
did
going to
predict
get back
this.
on the booze.
Yes, you
Whether
did
that means
predict.
what's going to happen on Christmas Day is what happens, I don't
So is
know. But
she?
yeah,
Because I think it's fair to say that Linda can be a bit of a nutter when she's drunk. So how mad is she going to go? Can she? Does she have the potential to be a killer when she's drunk?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe accidentally.
Yeah, I could
But to
see.
be fair,
Yeah.
with how her and the only person again would be Dean, I think, in Linda's circumstance that would push her that far.
Yes. Now
You
there
could
is an.
see it. You could see
I
it.
could see this happening. Yeah. And now I also remember in Linda's trailer, she is cleaning the floor
Mhm.
upstairs. So you sort of wonder, is that going to be where Dean maybe gets attacked? The other point of this, I also wonder about Gina.
Yes.
Is
Yeah.
she heading towards a similar fate?
Yes, it seems like it, doesn't it? That's the only reason that we can really think of that they'd make her start warming towards Dean, because
Yeah,
otherwise, which is
because
horrible. Like, obviously, we don't want that to happen to
it
her,
is.
but
Now, the thing is with Dean, he kind of gets attached to people quite quickly, doesn't he? And
Yeah.
when he senses, I mean, this is how it all happened with Linda. Like, he was sensing
Mm.
warmth from her and he was sensing support from her, which is then where his head then went to do what he did.
Yeah.
So now he's getting sort of similar vibes of Gina. She's surely in a huge amount of danger now, isn't she?
I
And is
reckon so.
that then going to lead to, I think maybe attempted, someone will walk
Anna.
in on it, Anna protecting her
Mm-hmm.
sister.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of talk about there being two bodies.
There is, but then there's also a lot of talk about there being 7 women.
Yes. Well,
So,
birth. Yeah. Birth
exactly,
easily.
exactly.
But what are
So,
they? Well, but now they've said that Anna's going to the Beals for Christmas Day because they're doing the wedding. They're
yes,
doing Sharon's wedding, Ashley and
yes,
Vic.
but there could be a fallout there. Anna storms
Oh
home
yeah,
because
true.
Gina doesn't want
Yeah,
to
yeah.
go, leaving Gina alone in the Vic. Anna storms home after some
You
sort of
should write.
argument with her mum.
You should write these storylines, Rob.
Oh.
You've got it like that. Got it like
Well,
that.
it's a possibility. You could see a path as to how it could all play out, can't you, at this
Yeah,
stage? Now,
yeah,
to be
definitely.
fair to the Cleaners era, it's been a very, very good era for sort of going in directions you don't expect or don't predict. So I'm thinking that there
So why
must
are we
be a lot of
bothering?
that.
Why are we
Why are we
bothering,
bothering?
Rob?
Why are we bothering even theorizing? But see, obviously, my whole thing has been niche throughout the entire year, and I still do think it's niche on the floor. But I can see a very detailed way in which it could be Dean as well, or maybe it's
Yeah, but
both.
then, like you said, why introduce Jade? But then, like we said, maybe it was just so that
Maybe it
Gina's
was
got
just for
this
that. Maybe it was just
reason
for that.
to,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
grow closer
Possibly,
to Dean.
possibly.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
10 days, Ree. That's all it's going to be. That's all we've got to wait for now. Ten
I know. I keep
days.
thinking we've only got one episode in between, and
Yeah,
then we'll be talking about who it was and what
I
happened. And
know. Can't wait. Can't wait. Very exciting. Right. So, I mean, throw your comments in the comment section, guys. Let us know. Do you think it's Dean? Do you think it's Linda? Could that be how it plays out, or could there be somebody else? Maybe Anna. Maybe Anna. Maybe Gina. Maybe Gina in self-defense. You never know. That could
Gina
happen too.
herself, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That could happen too. So frustrating. I can't wait to find out. Let us know in the comments section below. Right then, ladies and gents, something else we predicted. Stacey and Jack are a thing now. Let's talk about that. So on to Stacey and Jack and Denise. Now this has got quite interesting quite quickly. Now at first glance, this appears to be just a sort of your standard affair storyline. However, when you look at it from the Six storyline perspective, with Stacey and Denise, this is the first fracture within the Six storyline, because the Six have always sort of been sold to us as like this is going to be 6 women kind of working together and keeping this
United.
massive thing, united women. However, Stacey and Denise are very much not going to be united when this comes out. So this is interesting. Does this have some impact on where the Six storyline might be heading, do you think?
Yeah, but I can't figure out like how Denise is gonna find out. It's a bit you don't watch Friends, but I'm gonna use
I
this
do what
analogy
I've
anyway.
seen enough friends to
Okay.
sort of
Well, you
take
know
a
how Ross and Rachel go on a
yeah.
break and then Ross
Yeah,
cheats.
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
this is
yeah,
the
yeah,
big
yeah, yeah. We were on
debate.
a
Cheats
break.
on it
Yeah,
that
exactly.
same
Yeah,
night. And
yeah,
so
yeah.
is it going to be one of those? Because technically Jack can say, well, we're broken up. It's not an affair. And she can go, well, did you have to do it the same night?
Same night, and we
Really?
are
You
technically,
know?
and we are still married. So it's
Yeah,
going to be weak logic.
separated.
This is, I mean, we've been predicting the Stacey and Jack thing for a little while. Stacey has now accumulated her third Branning. I love that moment with Jean.
Gene.
Not a
Not
third
another
Branning,
Brannon.
Stacey. Not a
Yeah.
third. Spoke for the viewers. Not another one, Stacey. For God's sake. Um, but this all kind of there's a bit of a lead up to this. So Stacey first of all receives a Christmas card from Theo.
Mm.
Um, which is kind of now. Did you get this straight away? Because I kind of did, and I was sort of like, "What are you on about, Steak? He's clearly talking about himself."
Yeah, I was surprised when she said the Eve thing. I was like, oh, I thought he was just on about himself. It didn't. But if you look from Stacey's perspective,
Yeah,
the
I
fact that
get
she's
it,
just recently reported Eve as missing and trying to
and
figure
it
out what's
and it was
happened.
And she did go missing on the same day. I kind of get her thinking,
knowing what Theo's like, I can kind of understand why. She's obviously not thinking straight because she's worrying so much about Eve as well. So I kind of can see it. Yeah,
it does make sense. So she is now under the assumption that Theo has done something to Eve. So she goes to the police, who are of precisely no use whatsoever in typical Warford police fashion. And then she decides to go into Stacey mode and rings Theo up and basically just does an impression of a Rottweiler down the phone at him.
Was that on a voicemail as well? Because that's really bad.
I think so. Yeah, he's got that evidence there and waiting. Yeah. Now, all of this still seems to me to lead to the surprising fact that Theo is not on the suspect list of being on the floor.
Yeah, the fact that they've revealed that he's actually on bail until he gets his sentencing, which we now know. So
we had this discussion last week. So you can plead guilty to attempted rape and still be let out on bail. What the hell?
As long as you're not near that particular victim, it don't matter about
all the other women
in your vicinity. Yeah,
about all other women on Earth. As long as you're not near that one, that's all right.
That's the world we live in, Rob. I believe it. That's the world that we live in. Sorry, I nearly swore then.
You didn't nearly swear. You did swear.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. It's all right. No, do you know what? Do you know what though? Fair, because that's ridiculous. If that's genuinely what would happen in real life, that is insane.
It would. I can totally imagine that. Yeah,
disgusting.
Especially
absolutely
under
insane.
the circumstances that he's done it in, and he's got a history of it as well.
Yeah,
it's really bad. Well, you hear about these things. You hear about these things like the fact that Stacey went to the police in the first place with all this evidence, really, about Theo stalking her, and there's no prevention. Prevention's not a thing in our country, unfortunately. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not. It's only until the worst that can happen happens that people then go, is that what you were trying to warn me about?
Sorry about that.
Well, we'll do something now, but we'll still not do it properly. We'll still let him walk free.
It is insane that he can walk. It is insane that he can walk the streets after pleading guilty to it. After he's literally gone, I did try and rape that woman. Yeah, I did. All right, well, as long as you stay away from her.
You'll go and stay in Scotland then, in an Airbnb until we're ready to send you to actual jail. Yeah.
I'll screen grab this rant and send it. I'll screen grab this rant and send it to the government. All right. So Meanwhile, Jack sort of kind of deals with it and says, well, no, it can't possibly be Theo because he's now in Scotland. So he's nowhere near you and he's nowhere near Eve. So that kind of puts that to bed for the moment. But
as well. Could the police officers not have just told that to Stacey? Been like, well, we know it's not Theo because he's in Scotland and he gets checked on every day. Why was she not told that?
Because those police officers probably had no idea about the case whatsoever.
True.
Probably had no clue whatsoever. So you can totally understand Stacey's frustrations, and you can kind of also understand, right, well, I'll just do this myself then. You kind of get it, don't you? Because Stacey's got a short fuse at the best of times. So you can sort of understand where she's coming from. But Jack isn't happy when she tells him that he's done this, and those two have a little bit of a disagreement. Now, meanwhile, Denise and Jack are not in a great place because Priya turns up at the salon and for no reason whatsoever starts winding Denise up about Ravi. For no reason whatsoever.
Because she's jealous, I think, isn't she, in a way?
I'm telling you, Janine used to do this sort of thing quite often.
Do you know what?
Janine,
I totally saw it. Totally saw it in that scene.
She has vibes of Janine. I tell you what, we're watching the birth of a legend here. It's like watching a phoenix rise from the ashes, watching Priya sort of emerge as the new Janine. I'm telling you, watch that space. She starts winding Denise up about Robbie for no reason whatsoever. I really enjoyed Yolanda's reactions to the whole thing as well. Looking like she wanted to rip Priya's eyeballs out, so I hope that becomes a thing later on, because that would be an amazing feud.
She was like, calm down, ladies, and then when she heard Priya, the looks she were giving her
amazing.
Like,
I'm so happy Yolanda's back. I love Yolanda so much. And his little feud, by the way, that's going on between her and Elaine was great. You know that scene in the Vic where they were doing the thing and they were sort of like being passive aggressive towards each other. Yolanda's conducting, Elaine's knocking her hand out of the way. Linda's giving a really heartfelt speech about her mum, and Yolanda's like, really?
Same woman.
I love her. I absolutely love her. Anyway, so this little diatribe from Priya, Jack overhears, and clearly the Ravi thing is still very much playing on his mind, and him and Denise have this blazing row And it just transpires that there is absolutely no trust between them. Like Denise has let Jack down, and he's not prepared to forgive her for it. It would seem to me.
I mean, it's kind of fair, isn't it, really? Because obviously he mentions that lingerie that he's seen her opening in the salon and then mentions
I
to her and then
mean,
goes, oh, well, all
I
right, so
mean,
it weren't for me.
yeah, I mean, it was a tenuous link for him to jump on, wasn't it? But that's where he's at. I kind of
Yeah,
believe
that's
it.
what,
I
yeah,
believe it.
I know, I think it is.
Yeah, I think it's quite in character for Jack, to be fair, because I think his pride's hurt more than anything, isn't it?
Yeah,
And that's the thing. The Branning men are not good, are not
no.
good with having their pride dealt with. They never have been. Max was exactly the same. All right, so Jack is just showing signs of his brother, basically. Quite enough signs for Stacey to start getting excited.
Mm-hmm.
So Denise, I thought what you said last week, by the way, the fact that Denise will just walk out at the drop of a hat. She does it again this week.
Yeah,
She just like, right, I'm
literally.
off. Right, fine, I'm
Yeah.
off to Patrick. See you later.
See ya.
So,
Yeah.
so she strolls out. She goes to stay with Patrick. So for the moment, it seems that their marriage is effectively sort of done and dusted, and they're just picking
Over.
up the pieces. It's hanging by a thread. So Jack has the house to himself. Stacey is sort of drowning her sorrows in the Vic with Kat. She leaves, and they sort of wander towards each other like gorillas in the mist. And they sort of Jack's having a pizza. She's like, "Do you want a slice? Do you want to come into my house for a pizza?" And you can, and it's like, right, tonight's the night it happens. Then,
We're
isn't it?
just
This is the
waiting,
episode.
aren't we?
This is the episode where it's going to happen.
The tension they created, those two together,
Good
was
chemistry
actually
together.
really good. Yeah, really. I was actually
Yeah,
quite
yeah, yeah.
surprised. Like I was sat on edge of my seat, like, oh, it's gonna happen. It's gonna. I'm waiting. I'm waiting. Oh no, it's not. Oh,
Do you
you're
know
waiting.
what?
Oh no, it's not.
Do you know what's interesting as well? I think someone will correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that is in a similar. It's not in the same house, but in the hallway by the door. You know what I'm going to say?
Yeah,
Exactly the
yeah,
same
yeah.
place that her and Max had their first kiss. I don't think it's the same house, but I was kind of expecting. If you remember the first kiss that Stacey and Max had, like they ended up like basically having sex on the stairs. So I was kind of thinking that they were going to go that far, but they didn't. But it's in the same sort of area, sort
Well,
of
they
the
might have. We
coat
didn't
thing.
see it. We didn't see it to that extent,
They
right? They might have.
definitely, they definitely didn't make it to the bedroom. No, 100% no. Stacey can never be asked to do that. So yeah, so it's happened. Jack and Stacey stack are now a thing. Now then, how is this going to play out? Do you think?
Right, well, this is what I can't figure out. It
Yeah.
seems as though Jack is Stacey's man for the day. Why would
How is?
she
Yeah,
suddenly turn on him? It don't. Something's
exactly.
not, unless it's Denise who's going to be turning on Jack.
Would
But
she
then who's
kill Jack for
Stacey's
this
man in
though?
that?
Would she
Yeah, well,
kill
none
Jack for
of them would.
this?
Let's be honest. None of women would kill it, other than Suke. To be honest, I can't see any women being that enraged by anything to kill.
I mean, this
But
is
I
the
don't
mad thing.
understand where Stacey and Jack had suddenly turned enemy, which is what
I
I think
don't
we're supposed to be
understand.
believing.
Yeah, the thing is, I don't get where Jack has come from to be on the suspect list. Like, I understand the story. I'm not disputing any of that. But what I mean is, how has he reached a point where, like, you could sort of,
Because, right, I think it is Jack on
you
the
think it's
floor.
Jack on the floor? Okay.
Because I think it'd be such a shock. I
Yeah, it
don't know.
would.
I've just got it in my head.
It would be a
And
shock.
remember we
Yeah.
had the scene a bit ago when Stacey was talking about the good men and the bad men and all of that.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So is it going to be that Jack's trying to protect somebody? So maybe it's not that he's Stacey's man in that way, but he's actually going to protect her and then end up on the floor. That's the only logic I
Ooh.
can think of because he's not a bad guy, is he? I can't see
It's not.
why someone like why one of
There's
the women would want to attack him because he's
there is
been bad.
absolutely, yeah, there is absolutely no reason for him to turn on Stacey whatsoever, and there's no
No,
reason for Stacey to turn on him either. That is a flipping excellent theory, theory. Like for Jack to be the knight in shining armor, which is another thing that's sort of been threaded through this story from the start. Um, yeah, yeah, I can
that'd be
see that.
that's the only explanation as to why he'd be a suspect for the floor, isn't it?
Aside from Phil, Jack would be the biggest shock on that list for me to die. I would
That's why
be
I think it's him.
absolutely floored if it was Jack who dies because he's like you put Phil on this and it's like okay, Phil's Phil, of course he's on this list even though Phil has literally no place on that list because nobody wants to kill him at the moment. But anyway, yet a lot can happen
Yet.
in a lot, maybe
Mm.
next week. But Jack would be absolutely flabbergasting if he was on. My ghast would never be so flabbered if he was on the floor Christmas Day. I'm telling you now. But then who would that leave as his killer? So you think he would be defending
Theo?
some Theo? But then,
Potentially.
so you
Yeah, but
think
he's
Theo is
not.
involved in some way? I think it's.
Possibly.
I think it's really weird that Theo has been the lead up to being Stacey's man throughout the entire story, and then he's been sort of removed from the suspect list at the last moment and replaced with Jack. There's something weird going on there.
Or it's Ravi or
On the floor.
Nish because there were no that do it to Jack
Okay.
because of the whole Eve thing. Because if you remember, we had a scene where Nish and Ravi are talking to police, and Ravi went, "Oh, it's that Branning getting involved," and then Nish
Yes.
starts saying,
Yes.
"Oh, we can't have all the square getting involved," and trying to think, "Oh, and
Yes.
Stacey as well."
So it's so integrated, isn't it? This is what I
Oh,
mean
you
when I
not
say
thought of this, had
I hadn't.
you?
No, 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 I hadn't. This is the thing because I've been going through the entire year, sort of thinking of each separate story and not necessarily thinking about how they might end up connecting. Like the other kind of thing that nobody really seems to be suspecting is things like maybe Suki might kill Denise's man. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
those sorts of like mix up might
yeah,
happen. So there's always those options as well. Like we're always thinking, right, well, Suki might kill Nish or Stacey might kill Theo or something like that.
yeah.
Whereas it might be a bit of a mix up with one of the women kills somebody else's man, in which case means it could literally be anything that goes on. It's just
Well,
so
yeah.
10 days. 10 days. That's all I have to wait. It's all I have to wait. Um, what do you think of Stacey and Jack, first of all, as a pairing? Do you prefer them to Jack
Absolutely.
and Denise?
I absolutely hated the thought of it. Wait, because you first started saying that you thought it was going to happen, and I was like,
Yeah.
no, because I don't want it to happen because it's
Yeah.
weird. But now we've kind of seen it build up.
Yeah.
They've done it well,
It,
and
wa-
I think
do you
Jack
still
and
think it's
Denise have
forced?
been
Because you were
over a
saying
long time.
last week that you thought it was a bit forced, this thing. Do you still think that?
I did, and then I think Scott Mawson and Liz Turner work so well on screen together that the chemistry, yeah, it actually makes it like, yeah, they literally can't resist each other, can they? Do you know what I mean?
It
They don't
makes it
feel as
make sense.
forced. Yeah, yeah.
But is this the end of Jack and Denise now as well? It kind of feels that
Yeah.
way, doesn't it? It feels that way, doesn't it?
I think it needs to be honest. I think I've never been a massive Jack and Denise fan. It was
Do you know
always
what?
a bit
Yeah,
like Pat and Phil, like who's not been together yet? Like let's put some names in a hat. Right, let's put
yeah.
Jack and Denise together now. It's always felt a bit like that for me.
The thing about Jack and Denise is that they were not deemed kind of important enough for us to even watch them get married when they
Yeah,
eventually
that's
got
true.
married. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
Mm.
and then really
Well, it
the
was
only
civil partnership they've had,
oh,
isn't it?
exactly. It
Yeah.
wasn't even a marriage, but I'm just, you know what I mean. It wasn't even like
Hey,
a,
don't
you know what I
undermine
mean. You know what I mean. You know what I mean.
Rob.
Don't get me cancelled. You know what I mean when I say that. I mean
You
they
get
didn't
yourself
do it.
cancelled.
No, because there was two weddings that day,
I
that
know.
episode
Yeah,
wasn't
Gray
that
and
wasn't there?
Chelsea
That's
and
the one.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So they were the big wedding, whereas
yeah.
that was not the same. Yeah. You know what I mean. It's all right. Calm down, Rob. It's fine. Um, but this is what I mean. Like their relationship only really sort of came to the fore when they started having problems. We never really saw them being
Being happy
being
together.
happy together all that much. And don't get me wrong, I've loved the whole stuff with Ravi and everything that's kind of gone on that way. But you sort of wonder if there isn't any story in them being happy together, then this surely must be the end of them. If they've reached this point where even Jack's having an affair now.
And Jack's going to be dead by Christmas Day anyway, so they're
You're
definitely
you're
over.
convinced. You're convinced it's Jack, yeah?
He is my number. That's my number
See your
one
top
because I just think
suspect.
it'd be the biggest shock. Yeah,
Yeah,
just because I think it's got to be a shock. And I know yours is niche, but it seems so obvious that surely it can't be. So yeah, I'm
yeah.
Team
See,
Jack.
this is the thing. I've stuck with Nish throughout the entire year just because I'm trying to think of the future of how
It
much longer
makes the
can Nish
most
be around.
sense. It makes the most sense to be niche, which is why I don't think it is.
Let's go for that then. Let us know in the comment section below. Could Denise be a killer? Could Stacey be a killer? And is Jack on the floor? Let us know. Right, next and final story, ladies and gents. And my goodness me, did this make my jaw hit the floor? Cat knows. Oh, how times change. Do you remember, Ree, us saying, "Oh, this Keanu stuff. This is getting on my nerves now. Like Keanu's like not my favorite." And I was kind of really despondent about this and thinking, "Oh, this is going to be such a big part of the sixth storyline. I'm less excited about that aspect of it." But oh my god, how things changed because this was my favorite part of the week. I loved it. Loved every second of this. This was awesome. First of all, let's do a massive shout out to Wednesday's episode, which was one of my favorite episodes for of the year.
Of the year.
Of the year. It was such a good. It was vintage EastEnders. It wasn't like something massive happened. It wasn't like a massive sort of like explosion episode, but it was just absolutely classic vintage EastEnders where a load of community stuff going on. A nice little moment with the Kat and Sharon thing, which I did not see coming at all. That was brilliant. Just that moment where Kat stepped out of the loos, like you sort of understood the run up to it. Like I was kind of thinking the way that they're talking means that someone's going to overhear this because Sharon kept saying quite obviously, Phil is Albie's dad. Phil is Albie's dad. Phil is Albie's dad. So you're kind of thinking, right, someone's going to hear that. But the way that they did it, I thought was really, really well done. And can I also say, mirrored the way that Sharon found out about Raymond, if you remember, all that time ago. Because Sharon found out by overhearing from exactly the same cubicle the Cat came out of.
Oh, I didn't remember. I did not make that connection at all. But nice touch.
Yes, So I don't know if that was deliberate, but it feels like it should have been deliberate. It's definitely deliberate. I tell you what, Brian Kirkwood has turned into one of the show's best writers. I have to say, I absolutely love me a Brian Kirkwood script, and considering that I was so angry at him and still remain angry that Pat got killed in his era, I will never forgive that. But he has more than shown his worth as a scriptwriter. I love Brian Kirkwood's episodes. They're always funny, really tightly written. He gets the character stuff absolutely spot on, I think. He's just a really, really, really good writer for EastEnders. It suits him down to the ground. Brilliant. So now I've gushed all of that. Let's actually talk about the storyline because this actually got very, 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 very.
Say you've skipped forward a little bit as well.
Oh, I just needed to gush. Needed to absolutely gush. So it is the night of Sharon and Keanu's hen/stag do's. All of the women of the square are dressed. I've got wigs to pretend to be Sharon. My favourite was Cindy, who definitely didn't need the wig whatsoever and just looked like herself. Didn't she?
She looked great with that on. Quite a few of them suited it. That I was surprised.
Well, I was going to ask you this. Who do you think suited it the more? Who should dye their hair blonde?
Cindy, to be fair. I mean, she's blonde.
She's blonde anyway. God. But like, of the ones that aren't blonde, who do you think it suited the most? I thought it really suited. Yeah, I thought it really suited Kat. I thought it really suited Denise. I thought it really suited Elaine. Yeah, some of them should think about going books and blonde. I really do. I think they look great. And then the stag do with Keanu was less Larry because Reese was in charge of it. Lads. I
don't know, Larry. You would like. Do you know what's funny?
The return of Testicle. Who had that on their bingo card?
What? Do you know what made me go? Oh, right. Because like Reese had done what he thought were a stereotypical stag do, organised it all for Keanu, and then Keanu was like, "This is like something from '90s," and I was like, "Oh." Really? Because that's what I thought a stag do was. So that's showing my age, isn't it? Because I thought he'd done a very stereotypical stag do pistol.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty. Apart from the fact that Keanu wasn't left tied up outside a lamppost with no clothes on, it was pretty much bang on.
Well, do you know how everyone's right? I'm going to go a bit off topic here, but still on topic. You know,
everyone's got everybody.
This... right. You know, everyone's got this beef with Reese, and me and you don't see it.
Yes.
So now I'm always trying to look at what possibility it could be that he's a bad guy because so many people are putting it in his brain. And the only thing I can think is that maybe he's a bit of a sexual predator because they're always talking about how good he is in bed. And then he were a bit of a dark horse by organising a stripper. This is me clutching at straws because I don't see how else he could be a bad guy.
You can be a nice, awkward bloke and still be excellent in bedry.
I agree, Rob. No, Rob, I agree.
You're looking at the evidence.
I'm trying to look for something there. That's the only thing that I can come up with.
Right.
I'm trying to look for something because everyone keeps saying they think he's a bad guy.
Yeah,
so if you think Reese is a bad guy, can you tell me what your theory actually is there? In what way is he a bad guy? Like, what do you think he's actually been up to? What is actually up with him? Because
you heard the lady. You heard the lady.
I love him.
Yeah, I love him. We always get a load of people going, "How can you love Reese?" I know. I'm sorry. Every pot has a lid. Yeah, I mean, I get it. He's got this dark side, and
Well,
clearly
yeah,
there,
obviously, what he's
and
doing.
clearly, as we said, we spoke about this quite a lot last week, and clearly they are building up some sort of mystery. As we're not supposed to be all too sure how we are supposed to feel about Reese. All right, I get it. But whatever goes on with Reese, however this all transpires with Reese, I hope we never lose this comedy side of Reese because I find him utterly hilarious. I think
Yeah,
he is
same.
such a good comedy character, and he's so different as well.
Let's.
I love him. I don't care. I'm sorry. Anyway, so that's all.
Sorry,
So,
that
so
was
that's all going on. Meanwhile, Linda is getting a bit drunk because this is the stage she's at now, and Sharon basically goes because big right. So she gets Phil to
Linda's
come
had a
round.
chat with Phil. Yeah.
Linda's had a chat with Phil. Okay, so Phil comes round. Really nice scene between Phil and Linda, by the way. I love that scene. It's nice to have those moments with Phil every now and again. Like Phil does those sort of sensitive scenes quite well. I mean, I say sensitive, you know what I mean? As sensitive as Phil can possibly be.
Yeah.
But those two work really nicely together with those things. I feel like Linda knows what she's going to get off Phil. So that's why she rings Phil in those sorts of situations. He is the perfect sponsor for her, I think, actually. And considering the
Yeah.
reasons that tend to happen as to what makes Linda fall off the wagon, I feel like Phil relates to that quite well because it's normally quite extreme things that tend to happen in order to make Linda fall off the wagon. And Phil's very similar in that regard. So I feel like Phil understands Linda a lot in that respect. So the two of them work really nicely together.
And he's always straight to the point as well. He's not
Yeah,
because you're saying he's as sensitive as Phil gets. He's never
yeah.
like, "Oh, Linda, I'm so sorry." He's
There's
like, "Well,
none of that.
do you want to be drunk or do you want to look after your kid?"
Well,
Well,
this is the thing
then
because
I
Linda is
think she
actually
needs
surrounded.
that.
Linda is surrounded by that sort of sensitivity quite a lot of the
Yeah.
time, isn't she? So for her to take herself out of that and actually say, "Look, can you just be Phil at me for a moment, all right? Because
Yeah.
I need to hear that." It's nice. I really like those two when they share scenes together. But Sharon arrives in preparation for the hen do just as Phil is coming downstairs, and it's kind of she sort of suspects that something's gone on here. So the pair of them go upstairs and they start kind of bickering a little bit. And Sharon ends up revealing about Phil being Albie's father. And at that moment, she also discovers an empty vodka bottle in Linda's bed. And she knows as well as anybody else that Linda is a nutter when she's drunk and will definitely tell the whole square once she's drunk what she's just told her.
Well,
So
she
she's
doesn't.
worried.
Does she say that Phil's Albie's father? Doesn't she just say Keanu's not at this
No,
point?
I think she says it's, yeah, no, she says it's Phil straight away. And then she finds the bottle and is sort of like,
Yeah,
oh
no,
dear
because
God.
because I think later on she says, "I'm not telling you who the father is. I'm not confiding in you because you're drunk and you'll get drunk and blab it."
No, I think I'm
Did
fairly
she
I'm
say Phil? Oh, right,
yeah,
okay. I
100.
thought it
No,
was
because Linda knew full
yeah,
well
because
what
of
the
the
impact
Phil
was of.
thing.
Yeah, but like Linda was fully aware of the impact of Cat hearing when that happened. So she definitely knew, and I'm fairly sure she found out at that first scene that they
At
had
that point.
together.
Oh, I
Yeah,
thought it was later on. Anyway.
yeah. Anyway, so the hen do
Yeah.
continues, and and Linda starts getting drunk, and Sharon has to take her into the loo, and they end up having kind of like again a great scene between the pair of them. I really liked it. And Linda needs to be sick, so the pair of them rush into the cubicles. Now, where were you in watching what you thought was going to happen in that scene? Was when they went into the loo where the kind of moment where you thought, oh, hang on, something's about to happen here, or did
No,
it go over your head?
it went over my head. As soon as they walked into the toilets and started talking about it, my first thought was, "Oh yeah, why don't you talk about this big secret in the Queen Vic toilets? What a
Yeah,
great idea! Of course, nobody's going to hear you."
yeah.
And then but Sharon was a bit like that as well. She kept
Yeah,
constantly saying to me,
she
"Let's go
checks
upstairs,
she
let's go
checks the
upstairs."
cubicles, doesn't
Yeah.
she? Yeah,
So
yeah,
she
yeah,
was aware of it. But then as the scene progressed and they're having the heart to hearts and everything, and then she starts being sick, I forgot where they were and I forgot that they shouldn't be talking about it. So then by the time they come out, I'd not even considered that someone might have gone into a cubicle
yeah,
next door. I was just thinking about all the parallels that Sharon might have been seeing to, Angie being an alcoholic and all that, and they're saying, I know
yeah.
alcoholics. That's all I was thinking about. I'd not even considered that somebody might have gone into the cubicle. And then, of course,
I mean,
we hear the
did your jaw
flush.
hit the floor? And even when you heard the flush, I didn't think for a moment it
I
would be
didn't think
Cat.
cat.
I didn't think
No,
Cat
I
at
don't know.
all. I
I
don't know who
don't
I
know.
thought it would be, but I did not. Cat
I,
was the last person I expected to come out of those loos at that moment.
I had Kim in my head. I don't know why I had Kim in my head because she would have played
Somewhat
no
gobby.
relevance in it. But yeah,
Sort of
some
even
yeah,
or even Priya, just for a bit of
yeah,
to have a bit
yeah.
of fun to play with. But Kat was the last person I expected to come out of those loos, and my God, I'm so delighted that she did because it
And
was a
she didn't wash her
great
hands.
moment.
She didn't wash her hands. That really
No,
annoyed me.
she
I know
just
it took
chucked,
about 6 minutes.
she chucked her wee filled hands wig at Sharon and stormed out, didn't
Yeah,
she? And going straight
hand
out to,
sanitizer.
yeah, probably. Go straight out to tell Phil, and Sharon sort of runs
Yeah,
after her. And again, another great scene in Square Gardens where Sharon
yeah.
basically says to her, right, well, if you do this, then that's you screwed then, because Phil will be with me in an instant if you do that.
If I
Now,
click my
you
fingers,
see, now
basically.
this is the thing. I saw a couple of rumblings online saying, oh, as if Kat would stand for this, as if Kat Slater would stand for this with Sharon. And I have to say, I disagree with that because the whole thing with Kat and Phil, this is the first time that Kat has been so financially secure. Like she never was this financially secure with Alfie, even when they won the lottery. This is the first time that her kids have been in a position where they can have anything they want. She's safe, she's comfortable, she kind of gets Phil, and so this is the most content I think that Kat has been pretty much her entire life. Whatever you think about Kat and Phil as a pairing, in terms of Kat's own story, this is the most secure she's ever felt. And I know in Kat that she knows that Sharon could have Phil back in an instant. She knows that Sharon wins this any day of the week. It's exactly the same as the Pat and Frank
We're
situation. Let's
just
be fair
thinking
here.
it as you're saying it. Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
exactly the same sort of setup, isn't it? Like Peggy knew all day long that Frank would choose Pat over her, and
Yeah.
just in this instance, Kat knows that Phil would choose Sharon any day over her. So the fact that Sharon was then using that to threaten Kat, that's why Kat backed down because she's like, yeah, I know. You're right. I can't do anything about this, so I just need to keep my gob shut, and there's nothing else I can do. Do you not think
Yeah, I agree
it's
with you. No, I totally agree. I thought I didn't even question her not
no?
retaliating because she feels threatened by Sharon. And like Sharon said to her, I thought, oh, Sharon, you're being evil
Oh
here
yeah.
with what she said. Like,
But did you think that she meant it, or was she just being desperate?
no, she was desperate. She was
Yeah.
desperate.
So,
I genuinely believe that Sharon thinks that Kat and Phil are a good match. I actually think that she does. But yeah,
but
they're a complex they're a complex pairing, aren't they,
well,
Sharon and Phil?
they've got a
So
long and they've got a long and textured history of Phil and Sharon,
mm.
haven't they? And there's all this about oh, Sharon clicks her fingers and Phil's comes running. Does that not is the boot not on the other foot with that as well? Phil clicks his fingers and Sharon comes running.
I don't know. I
Like,
think, to be honest, I don't think if Sharon clicks her fingers, Phil comes running like as a relationship. But I think, like Sharon said, throwing them sharing a kid into the mix changes everything, and
because this is yeah, this is the
that's
first
where she
time.
could click her fingers and he would
Yeah,
come running.
because
Yeah,
this is
I
actually the
agree with
most
that.
solid thing that Sharon and Phil have ever actually had together.
Yeah, yeah,
Despite their relationship in itself, they've got a kid together now. This
yeah,
changes absolutely everything.
yeah.
Um, so this you kind of got to think this must be the end of Cat and Phil coming up soon, surely.
Well, this is what I kept thinking because obviously late, like after this night, we have a scene of Sam, Phil, and Kat in the kitchen, and Sam's looking at pictures of the hen party, and
Yeah,
Phil didn't respond straight away about,
yeah,
oh, are you jealous that
yeah,
it's not you getting married to her, Phil? And Kat, then you get that other doubt. So then I'm like, she's definitely not going to tell Phil she feels 100% threatened
yeah.
by Sharon.
You get it,
And then, of course, when it all comes out, Phil's going to want to break up with
but
Kat. Then Kat's going to find out about Emma because then Keanu will share that secret.
yeah.
So, yeah, I think it could be the end of him. Yeah.
Well, this is the thing. Talking of this like these pairings here, right? There are so many bombs waiting to go off in this storyline alone. So
Yeah.
first, you've got the Albie paternity thing, the fact that
Oh,
Phil slept with
yeah.
Emma, the fact that Keanu staged the kidnapping,
Oh,
the
yeah.
fact that Kat now knows about the paternity things. So that's four straight off the
Ernie
bat.
knows about Keanu's involvement in the
So
kidnapping as well.
actually,
Bernie's going to be involved, I think.
yeah,
Eh,
but as in like in terms of the couples themselves,
yeah.
there are so many things waiting
Mm.
to go off that actually this makes me think that Keanu is nowhere near the floor on Christmas Day because there's so much to be revealed and so many separate explosions to go off. We've still
It
got
needs to
New Year.
happen now.
We've still got New Year's Day to come, and that traditionally is a big episode in EastEnders as well.
Mm.
So I kind of wonder whether there's so much story here that sort of protects Keanu from being killed off because there's so much still to be revealed. Now, don't get me wrong, you can reveal a lot on a Christmas Day wedding, but there's so much, it sort of makes me think that Keanu has got longevity past Christmas Day in terms of the reaction and
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
finding out that his son isn't his son, and finding out that Sharon knew, and his like the fact that Phil will find out that Keanu knew, and the fact that there's so many like
And then Phil will find
new.
out that Albie's his son, and then Phil will find out that
Yeah,
Keanu's kidnapped his son, and then
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. There's so much there waiting to. It's like you talk about bombs. That is a nuclear bomb waiting to go off all in one. So I think Keanu's
Also,
safe.
I've seen online somebody posted a theory that they think Kat's the seventh woman
Mm.
based on the wedding dress that she chose to wear. And we commented on that wedding dress being an
Yes, we did.
unusual choice and it
We
containing
did.
all of the colours of the six.
Yeah. I
Someone's been
mean,
saying, yeah.
this is the other thing. Again, Phil got thrown on the suspect list out of nowhere, didn't he? It's kind of like, why the hell is Phil a suspect for this? Because actually, of all the things that are going on in this storyline, actually, Phil is a relatively innocent party in it all, isn't he? Like, he's not holding any secrets from anybody, really. He's got a
From
lot to
Kat
react to.
about cheating, but
Oh yeah, apart from that, but that's not going to get him killed, for
no.
God's sake. Let's be realistic here. If we're saying that, if Jack's affair is going to get him killed, then it's certainly not going to happen to Phil. So again, why is Phil on that list? What is going to happen to make Phil a legitimate suspect?
Keanu and Phil, so it won't be one of the six maybe that had attacked Phil, or Sharon potentially would, and say you've ruined everything. I don't know if Phil then goes to Keanu,
I mean,
tells him
that
on wedding day
all.
because he finds out from Kat before.
Yeah, I mean, that all boils down to the blood that's on Sharon's dress in the flash forward. Now, that's in a very particular place. Now, it looks like, at first glance, it's like, oh, she's been like stabbed or something, it looks like there. However, what you've also got there is if a head wound and she's cradling somebody and that person has then bled onto her dress and she's holding them in a sort of cradling position. That's what it sort of also looks like. So that would suggest that someone she cares about is on their way to getting injured. So that would either be Phil or Keanu, surely, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but she could have also had it on her hands and got it on a dress and washed her hands since. You can't really wash it off a dress. But I know what you're saying. It could be from her head, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again,
We just don't
so
know,
many
Rob.
questions. Throw them all in the comment section below. Go on.
One last thought. Dean and
Yes.
Keanu have made enemies this week.
Yes.
Also,
So well, I say came out of nowhere. It was sort of brewing, wasn't it, for a little while. The pair of them sort of came to blows. They instantly sort of hate each other. They almost had a physical fight. Mind you, Keanu also did with Nish as well. So Keanu is making enemies as well, actually. You sort of look at Nish and Dean as people who should make enemies, but actually Keanu's making some pretty dangerous enemies there with both Nish and all the suspects
are also making enemies amongst each other.
There's so much to this. It's so textured and layers, and I love it. I love it. I love it. So next week, where the hell is it going to go? Because we've got one more full week before Christmas. So how is this all going to play out next week? Where the hell does it go from here?
We're going to have a Suki and Denise episode, surely.
Yes. So Suki still needs to find out that Nish is involved in Eve's disappearance, and then Ravi is involved in Eve's disappearance. So that puts those two straight back on the top of the list again. And also Denise's episode, which means presumably she's going to find out next week as well if she's getting an episode. Because what else has she got to react to unless something else happens with Ravi?
What, Denise?
Yeah.
She's going to find out about Stacey and Jack as well.
She must find out next week.
Yeah.
So good. So good. I mean, the most difficult question I'm ever going to ask you here, Ree, this week, who is getting your gold star?
Do you know what? It's going to Linda for me this week.
Okay,
because her drunk scenes and her scene with Sharon in the toilets.
Beautiful.
Yeah, top tier. Yeah.
I'm tempted to give it to Shrimpy, in all fairness, because he's had a fantastic...
I remember what you could get to.
Yeah, what a performance. What a performance. Ben Champness can sing. Who knew? He was really, really good. He can play the piano. He can sing. He's a triple threat, that boy. But tricky. I think I'm going to give mine to Sharon.
Oh, okay.
So
Besties.
yeah, so Linda and Sharon for the gold stars. Who is getting your gold star this week? Let us know in the comments below. And final part of the podcast, we're going to read some comments, we're going to read some emails, and we're going to read some goddamn theories. Right, we have got quite a lot to get through here. First of all, last week we were supposed to give you the answers to the quiz that we set Amber. We completely forgot to do that because we had so much news to get through. So I'm going to zoom through these quite quickly. If you were here a couple of weeks ago, we gave Amber a quiz for her birthday. She sent us an Instagram story. She had a great time. We are very, very delighted to see that. The questions were, which role did Lacey Turner originally audition for in 2004 before show bosses created the role of Stacey Slater specifically for her? The answer to that was Demi Miller. She originally went for one of the Millers, and then the producers saw a lot of potential in Lacey Turner and created the role of Stacey. Question number 2 was, how many husbands did Pat Butcher have? Bonus points if you can name them all. That would be Pete Beale, Brian Wicks, Frank Butcher, and Roy Evans. Well done if you remember Brian Wicks, by the way. That's good EastEnders knowledge, that is. Question number 3 was, how many Duff Duffs are played at the start of the EastEnders theme tune? That was Duff, 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 Duff. 9. And finally, question 4, because it's 6 months, which 6 characters have had the most appearances in the history of EastEnders? At number 1 is Ian Beale. At
Of
number 2,
course.
obviously. At number 2 is Phil Mitchell. At number 3 is Sharon Watts. At number 4 is Dot Branning. At number 5 was Pat Evans. And do you remember the surprising number 6, Ree?
No, because I forgot.
Yeah, Billy.
Of course, Billy, yeah.
Billy has had the 6 most appearances in the whole of EastEnders. That's mad, isn't it? You think that Billy would be that high up the list, but there he is at number 6. There we are then. Right. For the rest of this, we have had some news as well come through this week. We are going to be meeting George's adoptive parents. Just find out. Oh, yes, there is. George had not seen his adoptive parents in over a decade, and when they arrive, it soon becomes clear that Eddie and Gloria are hiding a secret. What could possibly? What I mean, God only knows what that could be. I mean, I suspect this might have something to do with George Jr.
Yeah, I'm thinking so, because we've had a lot of mention of him and no sign of him, but no mention of
Yeah,
George's parents. So unusual to bring them in and not George Jr. at this stage. Yeah.
exactly. So I feel like that's a coming soon. Obviously, we've got the return of Johnny to come as well. So there is a
Oh
lot
yeah.
happening. There's a lot happening in the Vic over the next couple of months. So that's exciting. You have something to read, Ree?
Yes, I did a little poll. So after we had the sixth special, I did a little poll on our Instagram stories to ask you all, after watching that episode specifically,
Yeah.
who do you think is the killer out of the 6? So I'm going to read out the results,
Well,
okay?
I currently think if there's any of those 6, I think it's Suki.
And is that based on watching the special or just because that's who you think it is?
That's just who I think it is. And
Okay.
the
What
special,
about, did anyone act suspicious to you on the
well, a
special?
lot of people said that Gillian Tailforth acted quite suspiciously.
That's what I thought. I thought she was well sus. So after watching that, I was like,
Yeah.
oh well, blatantly Kathy's the killer.
Okay.
That mixed with her trailer being so different to
The
everyone
angry
else's
one.
as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But then after watching this week, oh, like Kathy won't kill anyone. Who's she gonna kill? But after watching the special, I'm convinced.
So what was the
Anyway,
poll? Yeah.
the poll results were in 6th place, Stacey with 9% of the votes.
So someone who's already killed is on the bottom of the list this time. That's interesting.
Mm. In 5th place was Linda with 13% of the votes.
Okay.
In 4th place was Sharon with 14% of the votes.
Okay.
I was surprised at how this top 3 went. Well, kind of. In 3rd place was Kathy with 17% of the votes.
Right. Okay.
In 2nd place was Denise with
I'm
18%.
surprised Denise is that high. Yeah.
That's what I thought. And in 1st place was Suki with 27% of people voting Suki
So
as being the
people have
killer.
So does that mean that people also think that Nish is on the floor then? If they're saying
Well,
that
I don't
they
know
reckon
because,
Suki is the killer.
but it's like you said, does it mean that it's the killer linked with their suspect and their man? Because I'm in my
Yeah.
head, we're thinking it was Kathy, but that it's Jack on the floor. And I'm like, I want to earth would Kathy kill Jack? I've got
Yeah.
no idea what scenario that had happened.
Oh,
So,
it's ridiculous. It was interesting, the Six special. It didn't. I don't think it really necessarily answered too many questions because I don't think it was meant to. I think it was just about to
no.
get. It was about getting us excited and like watching the six actresses like react to everything that's been going on. That was quite good fun. But at the end of it, Joe Swash stood up and said, "Actually, we're about to find out who the killer is." Because the executive producer has told the killer who they are this week, and we're about to find out. The screen then goes to black just before the reveal, but you hear screaming as the reveal happens. Now then, what do you think happened there? Do you think one of the six stood forward, or do you think someone else? This is what I think as well. Someone else came into the room.
Yeah, I think it was somebody stood
Yeah,
in the shadows potentially.
yeah,
Yeah, that was my thought.
yeah,
I mean, Kelly Bright was screaming the loudest. I definitely heard her screaming. But then that could be a cover up for the
she
fact
could
that
have,
she stepped
she could
forward
have,
and been
she
like,
could have stepped forward and like, oh,
"Ah!"
I'm a killer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Because if you analyse it like that, I think you can hear Lacey Turner as well. And there's nothing to say that they're not just reacting to the fact that everyone's seeing it's them or
yeah.
double bluffing. But I think it was somebody stepped out of the shadows, personally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so do I. I mean, but I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it. I really did.
Yeah.
We had an email regarding the six special actually, and specifically about the screams. Dan Wilson has sent us an email saying, "Greetings, Robin Ree. I watched the six revealed, and when Joe Swash asked the killer to step forward and the picture went black, some of the actors screamed as they found out who'd done it. I rewound and re-listened to the screams about 10 times because that's the sort of people
Wow.
that EastEnders fans are. Let's be honest, that's what we need.
Well, I did it a
And
couple of times.
yeah, so this is what we do. And think that one of them is either or both Kelly Bright or Lacey Turner. But I am
Yep.
convinced the loudest scream came from Diane Parrish. Therefore,
Oh,
Denise is definitely not the killer, and I think it's unlikely that either Linda or Stacey is either, which means we're down to three, and that the killer is Suki, Sharon, or Kathy. And as a result of that show, I think it might be Sharon, especially as Letitia Dean says she didn't think it was Sharon, as opposed to defending her and saying that it definitely isn't. It would also be quite a shock to find that Sharon has indeed killed someone, but who knows? Anyway, not Linda or Stacey, and most definitely not Denise. I mean, Sharon would be a shock to be the killer, to be fair, wouldn't she? But
yeah.
then you've got to think she almost killed Ian. She's got form. She has, as old Sharon, she's got form. So
I mean, that was in a very non-violent way, and the blood would suggest that this has happened in a little bit of a, and the
this
broken
is
bottle and everything suggests a kind
that.
of violent
Yeah, I
attack.
mean that kill. I don't. Whatever happens, the kill is self defense, 100%. Like it has to be. It's reactionary.
Yeah,
So it's not a premeditated murder by any stretch of the
no,
imagination. Yes,
you'd think.
you'd think. What have you got for us from the listeners?
On our Instagram page, we've got a comment from Vegan Fantasies Fulfilled who says, this is in regards to Stacey. She loves those Brannins. Stage set for Max to come back after Lauren.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, Max is back soon. Telling you now, Max is 100% back soon. He can't not be. There's so much for Max to be doing at the moment. And the return of Lauren as well, and
Especially a
Penny.
funeral for his brother to find out that his
Well,
ex-partner's been having an
potentially.
affair with him. Anyway.
Potentially. Oh, very exciting. We got another email from Brandon Reed who said, "Tonight there was a throwaway moment where Stacey freaked out because the door was on a latch. Jack said it was probably Jean who left it open. However, my theory is that Eve is already on the square and is trying to get to Stacey without anyone knowing. She may be trying to leave a note or a sign that she is okay. Maybe I'm reading into this too much, as it probably was Jean, but I think Eve is already back on the square, which would suggest then that she is going to be there to potentially knock off Nish."
Potentially, he's got a point actually about the door being on the latch. It didn't really get mentioned again, did it?
No, it was a
We
bit
saw it
random.
as a way for Stacey to interact with Jack, but out
Yeah,
of all the things that they could have done, why was the door on the latch? Yeah, and he didn't check
exactly.
upstairs.
No, he didn't. Also, no,
Mm.
they were too busy doing other things upstairs, not in that
They were
house, in the
too
other
busy
house.
thinking
Far
about
too
what else
busy.
to do. Yeah.
Far too busy. Yes. Next comment,
Um,
Ree.
I've got another one from our Instagram page from Lana Bum who says, I feel like Gina is going to be attacked by Dean and Anna is going to kill him upstairs. I think
Yes.
someone else is dead on the floor in the Vic. At the moment, Jack is my first guess.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
I agree.
we're back with the two bodies theory again. But yeah, yeah, 100%. I agree with that, Lana. I had a message from my friend Marsh, actually, who said something very interesting. I don't know if this is a goof or it's something that he's noticed, and it's genius.
Oh.
Sharon wished to discuss cake toppers in tonight's episode. Remember, she was talking to Kiani,
Yes,
like, we're having a conversation about the cake topper. In the flash forward, the cake has no topper.
Ooh.
So it's the top of the murder weapon.
I don't know, might be onto something. No, that could be, yeah. I mean, a cake topper's usually just a groom and a bride little statue, so it'd have to be quite a spectacular cake topper to be a murder weapon.
Well, it's Sharon's wedding dress. It'll be spectacular. It'll be 6 foot tall. Knock him out. Clearly. So send us all your theories. Keep sending them in. We love reading them. Someone is going to land on the theory. Someone is going to completely and utterly guess what happens on Christmas Day, and that's gonna be how it happens. And we're going to be the podcast where you hear it first. I'm telling you now. So if you want to send us your theory, you can do the following.
You can find us on Facebook at Albert Square After Dark, on Instagram and Twitter at E20 After Dark. Like and subscribe on our YouTube channel, Albert Square After Dark, and find us on all your favourite podcast sites. Drop us an email at e20afterdarkpodcast@gmail.com. And if you'd like to buy us coffee, you can do so by going on buymeacoffee.com/E20afterdark.
I'm so excited. So next week, I'm going to be a quivering wreck next week in the run-up to Christmas Day. I'm telling you, penultimate. There isn't a episode on Christmas Eve. So it's So the first episode, the week after next, will be Christmas Day. We have 10 days as we record this left to find out who is on the bloody floor. It's been the best storyline, honestly. I have loved every single second of working out who it is, working out what's going on. They've thrown so much at it in terms of all the different theories and all the different ways it could go. I can't wait. Also revealed that Lauren Klee is writing a Christmas Day episode, and she is fantastic. She's written some amazing episodes this year, so great to see her there. I can't wait. Next week, it'll all kind of reach a climax before Christmas, as we'll see Suki's episode, we will see Denise's episode, and then the penultimate episode before Christmas Day, I am sure, will be one to watch, as well as things finally start to orbit all around each other, and we'll go into Christmas Day with everything in place. I cannot wait. Make sure you are there to send us all your theories and to talk about that final week before Christmas Day. Until then, it is goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.